Welcome back to a Global Business Report here on the Rise News. Mobile money has continued to grow and serve as an enabler to the realization of financial inclusion target in Nigeria. According to data released by the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, the country recorded a 50% increase in mobile money transactions and added over 2 million new users to the existing ones in 2018. They showed a significant growth in the usage and adoption of mobile money platform in Nigeria. Now, in spite of this positive outlook, there is a persistent view that more needs to be done to break new grounds and align Nigeria's financial practices to global best practices. And joining me in the studio to discuss this is Chinedu Onuoha, Chairman of the Association of Licensed Mobile Payment Operators in Nigeria, also known as ALMPO. I hope I got that right. Chinedu, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
So tell us about your organization. What's it all about and what are your objectives?
Okay, Association of Licensed Mobile Payment Operators is the umbrella body of all the institutions in Nigeria that have been licensed by the central bank to provide mobile money services. We have bank members and non-bank members. The idea is to come together to harness synergy and find a way to make sure that we surmount most of the problems we encounter day to day by sharing resources, sharing ideas, and innovating together.
Very good. Now, let's have your assessment of the mobile money operations in Nigeria. How has it impacted financial services sector so far?
Okay, every country has evolved differently. Nigeria, much more than most African countries, had evolved in terms of the sophistication of its payment infrastructure, all of that. But the downside of that is that only a fraction of the people have moved with that change, while so many have been left behind. And the idea is that mobile money is supposed to help leave the remaining behind. And in going into it, there were so many assumptions. Assumptions from the regulator, assumptions from the operators. But those assumptions, we found out 10 years down the line that a few more things need to change. Yeah.
And when you talk about a few more things need to change, specifically, what are these?
Okay, first of all, in terms of how we engage the products we release for our customers.
Okay.
This year we came together and one of the things we tried to do is I think mobile money or mobile payments or financial inclusion should go beyond payments. Okay. We think that what the customer needs is not just to pay and receive. The customer needs a bit more.
All right.
And that's one. And then the other one is the infrastructure. We need to also be able to find some way to make the infrastructure work for the customers. Okay, so these are some of the things we believe that in addressing them and in doing them, we can change the story. Yeah.
Changing the story, very good. Now, recently the CBN has also been making some frantic efforts, if I may use that word, to encourage financial inclusion. So where does your group, as major stakeholders in this chain of actions, play a part, as it were?
Okay, first, the group is part of the National Financial Inclusion Steering Committee.
Good.
We're also part of the technical committee. And one of the things we bring to all of that is because we have first-hand experience. We go into the trenches, we're the ones recruiting the agents, we're the ones going about trying to recruit the customers. And we provide all of these inputs in terms of the feedback we get from the customers to help to make the policy change. But most importantly, too, we are the ones attracting investment to say there is opportunity to, yes, on the long run, make money by serving or bringing these people in. Yeah. And therefore, let more investment be made in agent rollout, in the technology infrastructure, etc. That's where ALMPO comes in.
Okay. So your group and relations with the bank, how has it been over time since the emergence of mobile money payment in Nigeria over time?
Yeah, it's very symbiotic. The mobile, like I mentioned earlier, we have bank operators or bank members, and we have the non-bank members.
Okay.
Whether you're a bank member or a non-bank member, you need a bank. You need a bank for the purpose of settlement.
True.
Yes. So it's symbiotic in the sense that we help the banks to get customers whose money ultimately sits in the bank. Yeah. And the banks also depend on us. They support us in different ways. For instance, through the SANEF initiative, to help us be able to roll out the agent networks and be able to serve the customers. So it's quite symbiotic.
Very good. Now, in terms of, you already mentioned the banks, but what about Nigerians themselves? How has the level of patronage of your services been over time?
It's not being the way we expected it to be.
Okay.
We think there's a lot more we as service providers need to give the customers.
Okay.
We think that maybe we may not have been able to give the customers the kind of products they require. But there have been some changes. There have been some things. Some of our member institutions, I won't be able to mention them, have been able to create those kind of products that we say are catching up today. Okay, even for the organization that I work for, Access Bank, we are doing quite a lot to make sure that through the kind of relationship we are creating to bring a lot more customers in. And you're going to be seeing a lot more changes in the coming year as things
So hopefully the issue of innovation also has to play a part here?
Of course, of course.
Because you need to draw them.
Exactly. And that's why I talked about creating the right products to be able to attract the customers. And at the heart of all of this is innovation. I mean, design thinking, being able to, what is it that the customer wants? Yeah. What is it that, is it just to say, okay, I have an account, I have a wallet, come and patronize. And so our member institutions, you would see a lot of things happening, are beginning to change that story by creating ecosystems that attract these customers. So I can create a service, you come for the service, but for you to access that service, you patronize mobile money. And that's the kind of innovations that are happening right now to be able to bring customers in. Yeah?
Very, very good. When we talk about demographics here, it would seem the concentration of services such as yours seems to be more in the urban areas, you know. So are we going to see more flexibility in terms of rural penetration as well?
Okay. A very important question you asked, or a comment you made.
Yeah.
We started from the urban areas.
Good.
But if you go to a lot of places now, you're going to see agents all over the place. In some places, they call it POS. What those guys there essentially are agents, people who are working for us, who are last miles. So we moved away from the urban areas. We are going deeper and deeper into the villages. Yeah, there are some constraints as we do that. For instance, it's difficult to provide that service where there's no network infrastructure. And it's also difficult sometimes to provide a service where, even though there may be voice network, but there's no data network. Because some of the tools we use, apps, POS devices, etc., require 3G, 4G to be able to work. So as Nigeria gets better in terms of infrastructure provision, we're also able to go down the line. The other side of it is that the poverty index, at some point, it makes it so difficult to be able to continue to serve. But we think that we're hopeful for the country, that things can get better. And as things get better and we're able to identify communities that can be sustainably served, we'll continue to go down and provide that services.
Indeed. Now, let's talk about the issue of taxation. You know, the VAT has also been increased, as it were. I know if I have to drive my car into a station and I have to use the POS to pay, I've been told to pay an extra 50 naira, as it were. So, in such scenarios, how have you been able to thrive? Because at the end of the day, we the customers are going to bear the cost.
Thank you. All right. We had our conference yesterday.
All right.
And one of the things that our agents brought up, and one of the complaints they made, their position is that it's difficult for them to continue to operate because they're being made to charge the customer 50 naira, additional 50 naira each time the customer uses the POS. But we got some reassurances from the central bank that there's some misunderstanding in the interpretation of the legislation which needs to happen. There is the merchant purchase is different from being accessing your cash from the... So that differentiation needs to happen. There's work that we need to do as ALMPO, working with the central bank, working with FIRS to create that differentiation so that the customer down the line is not charged. And today I just heard from the news that that threshold, even for the stamp duty for normal purchase, is going to be moved from 1,000 naira to 10,000 naira.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, so such improvements will make it easier for us to continue to serve customers.
Okay, very good. Now tell us about this upcoming conference. What's it set to achieve?
Okay, the conference, the 2019 conference we had yesterday, we call it Beyond Payments. Okay. And what we try to do in the Beyond Payments is that we try to say, what are those things that we need to do beyond our normal promise, what we're promising the customers to be able to make it better for us to achieve more in the next year. And in doing that, one of the things that came up is that we need to also be able to offer microcredits. Okay. We need to also be able to offer micro pension. We need to also be able to offer micro insurance. Some of these things we cannot do alone as mobile money operators or mobile payment financial services providers. we need to also work with other stakeholders in the industry. So we had representatives yesterday from the telecoms, from the pensions, from insurance, and all of that. And in the coming year, you will see our members working with partners from this other cross-industry to be able to provide whole solutions for the customer at the end of the day. Because the customer has a whole life. It's not just to pay and receive. He wants to save. He wants to do other things. And those synergies that will come from there. And these are the kind of things we're able to see from the conference, which we had yesterday. Yeah.
Indeed. So how do we grow more adoption of mobile money in Nigeria?
One of the things, all the stakeholders need to do more. Us as operators, the regulators, and also the government. As operators, we've talked about innovation.
True.
We need to innovate a lot more. We need to also be able to partner with other stakeholders in the industry. It's not just us alone that will be able to solve that problem. We realized that. That was why we had the conference. For the regulators, yes, they've introduced new players in the system, the payment service banks, who also are going to help hit up the competition, which will help innovation to thrive. There are some other things we requested of them, making it possible for us to be able to pay interest on wallet savings. Today you can pay on accounts. You may not be able to pay on mobile money. So they're looking at that. They're also looking at issues around pricing to make it easier for us to have pricing that works for all the stakeholders, works for the person who is invested in the mobile money business, works for the customer who needs the service, and all of that. So we think that there are a few things that regulation needs to do. And for the government, working with through NCC to also make sure that we have network services across the country. If there's no network coverage, it becomes difficult to provide a digitally led financial services.
Not only network coverage, but the issue of power itself is very lingering. All right, Chinedu Onuoha, Chairman, ALMPO, it's been a pleasure having you. It's good to have you.
Thank you.